Working on 80-year-old vehicles comes with a huge set of challenges. You have rusted and completely worn out old parts.
It's seen better days, that's for sure.
And finding new ones is like looking for a needle in a haystack.
That's everything they've got right there.
That's it?
Yep.
And let's not even talk about kicking life into seized engine cylinders.
Oh, there we go.
And what can make things even more challenging is when a car comes in that's partially restored, but somebody just bailed on the job.
Okay, so that ain't even the right size.
Trying to find the right hardware for the steering column on this 44, but I never took it apart. Somebody else did.
Brad is tasked with finishing up a car that's already been in process.
This is where I find out as well whether or not something else is going to be in the way when I go to put this in.
The thing is, when somebody else has worked on it, you don't know where they left off. So, A, it's a voyage of discovery, and then you can't really rely on the fact that they've done it correctly.
I would have put it in before I put the engine in. This should have been in a long time ago. A long time ago. It's always a puzzle putting something back. So this is customer's 1940 Ford two-door. He's done a bunch of work himself, had it painted, and then he had some back problems, so there's no more bending over and crawling around underneath. So he wants us to finish it off. Basically, it's going to be the electrical, get all the mechanical, do the interior. There's no steering column in it. There's no dash in it. Right off the bat, when I just kind of looking at a few things that the customer had done, the lower rad hose is kind of pinched by one of the brake lines, so it's going to limit the amount of water that goes through there. There's another brake line that's like 1 inch from the exhaust. So I'm gonna have to take that off and reroute it. This exhaust pipe is really close to the clutch there. Yeah, there's a couple of little things that gotta be rerouted, but I'd say about 90% of the work looks fantastic that's been done. He's got a lot of stuff prepped and ready and put some of the stuff in, and then he kind of stops. So we'll get her finished up, and down the road he'll go. Prepping a lot of the little bits that go into the steering column. That guy will go in there, so what'll happen is when you move this back and forth to select your gear, it'll move these guys, and then that in turn moves the two rods that go down to the actual transmission. Most cars were still on like a shifter on the floor, and then they went to like the 3 in the trees. You just look inside and see a column shift, you're naturally gonna think it's an automatic car. In restoration, you know, you have your major components, but you also have an awful lot of little things that take up a lot of time. So that's nice and tight, and it's in the right position. So now, when you want to go back and forth to select your gears, it'll work. Your attention to detail needs to be really good. If you're not, then people notice the little things. It's very stiff. I want the shifter to shift like butter, like super easy. Yeah, I'm gonna have to take it apart and just clean it up, some of the paint off in there. There's no power steering, no power brakes, so you really gotta keep your hands on the wheel when you're doing corners and stuff, so we want the shifter to work really easy. The paint is very thick. Man, that's thick.
So the owner of the 28 Plymouth, Chris and Chantal, have brought it in to see if they can get this almost century-old vehicle back on the road again.
I'm excited. It's been sitting at home for almost 10 years, just waiting for this. It's a 1928 Plymouth Q 4-door. This is our first antique. As a kid, I've always liked that style.
You think you can keep a steering wheel straight while I push the car off? It's gonna roll off as soon as you get clear of the trailer. We'll call stop, brake, okay? Hop in. Hang tight.
10 years ago, we were driving to Ottawa, and I saw it on the side of the road. I wanted that.
I've done this a lot by myself.
And hubby says, well, on the way back, if it's still there, I'll buy it for you.
Brake. Nicely done. Thanks, kiddo.
And it was still there, so he bought it for me, because apparently I get what I want. We were hoping to also get it restored because we have 6 kids, and I wanted it so that we can use them for weddings. We used it for a couple proms, and that's when we found out it wasn't best to use at night.
The lights back in the 20s and 30s on these vehicles weren't the best. There wasn't that much extra light around, so you could outdrive your lights easily.
So we'd like to use it for more celebrations and more things with our kids, is the big plan, if it runs well enough.
Woo! Beautiful, we're in.
It still runs, but it would be nice to bring it up to its original spectacular look.
So things we know for sure, working from back to front, the gauge for the fuel tank, completely gone. Carburetor, it's locked open. It's only been seized once. That's me that did that. And I also found out you can hand crank it unseized, and that's why I have a scar on my chin. So the horn's gone. We've never had a horn, I don't know where it is. Everything else on it should be original.
It actually has the original horsehair in the seats still.
It's really great to see somebody come in with a vehicle that is almost 100 years old who has an original manual.
Isn't that cool? There's pictures. See, like the original engine and stuff.
It's something that you don't see very often. It's going to come in handy for us as well. We're going to go through everything and we'll make it running and reliable so that you can enjoy it and maybe see if you're driving at night without a flashlight through the front window.
Take your time. It's safer with you than it is with me.
I'm gonna put that in.
Yeah, no way, man. Why would they do that?
Yeah. For me to put it in this way, I'm gonna have to jack the car up like 7 feet in the air. Why do people do this, man?
There's just no way.
I might have to take all this stuff apart so it can slip up there. All right, off to the bench, take it apart. Ow, you. So it's in now? A few things have to go on a firewall before I can put the dash in. But a success in the way that a lot of stuff had to come apart for it to go in. It should have been in a long time ago, but that's fine. It's in now. Okay, we're back to where we were first thing this morning.
We got the 1928 Plymouth in, but we're gonna do an assessment on it, see where to spend the money.
So do they have a list?
Oh yeah. They would like everything done, but budgets dictate everything, so. The horn hasn't worked in forever. They'd love to make it work.
That's my specialty.
You'll have to do your magic, make it, yeah. Everything looks good. He said the carburetor's stuck wide open right now, so that's why they didn't start it.
As long as the manifold's not cracked.
They would like the electrical upgraded.
That looks a little fishy.
Household wiring morettes. It's not something that you want to see underneath a hood of a car, underneath a car, or anywhere near a car. It's something that you could get by in a pinch, but if they don't seal, they're gonna corrode. This is not what you want to see.
Duct tape the doors together?
Yeah, keeps them closed.
Whoa, look at the felty foam-like substance.
Amazingly enough, the window mechanisms are all still working the way they did in 1928.
Wow, they work extremely good. Why doesn't the door latch? I got it to latch half a latch.
Nice.
The wheels don't look rotten at all. Because that could be 10 grand to fix right there.
Yeah, they're in pretty nice shape.
Not much holding that seat in, that's for sure.
Knob. Lots of little things, but really it's a good solid car. People they bought it from just said, we'll sell it to you, but please don't hot rod it.
Well, at least it's all together.
Mm-hmm. I re-duct taped it.
All right.
Excellent.
Brakes?
Yeah.
Uh-oh. Yeah, we got the brakes sticking on.
Brad's got to work some magic and pull a rabbit out of our hat and make it work.
Come on, girl. This 40 Ford has a Flathead V8 motor in it. When Mr. Ford came out with this engine, they were getting sold as fast as they could probably land on the lot because they were going up against 4 and 6 cylinders. And hey, everybody wanted to get in on the power craze. Give me a little stable there. Okay. Oh, Trying to get it to run on its own from the fuel source. I put 40 bucks worth of fuel in it, so it should go. First time it's been running, so everything has to get filled up so that when you put, you know, that demand for fuel, it's gonna squirt into the carburetor. Come on, girl. As soon as I pour gas in it and fire it, it fires right up. So I know that part, what I've done's working. It's just not getting is the fuel from the tank to the pump. Why isn't it sucking it up? So the fuel comes from the fuel tank up the fuel line, hits the sediment bowl, any of the heavy stuff and the clean fuel will go through the filter. So in the old days, they didn't have filters in them. It'd just be a bowl and it has this little screen. The fuel will come in and just like gold mining, all the heavy stuff should drop to the bottom and then there'll be no big chunks going through the screen and then into the pump and then into the carb. Back then, you know, every town had a little corner garage with a gas station, right? There was a reason why there was a mechanic on duty right there because you get a lot of your gas back then. So the seal, actually looking at it now, the shape's not perfectly round when it goes in and it's supposed to set inside there and it's supposed to seal it. So I'm figuring is that it's sucking more air than fuel, right? Because I've seen this many times before, just a little $3 seal and it won't go. And then you'll start putting a fuel pump on it. Then you start putting a carburetor on it. And then the problem is right back here. So restoration should have a slash headache beside it. Like restoration equals headache. Because it is, it's not that easy.
Well, 1928 Plymouth we're working on. Greg wanted me to get it out and drive it in the back lot today and see how it performed, to see if the clutch worked, the gearbox worked, the brakes. I flushed it out, flushed all the old gas out, and the thing started right up. But right now, I don't seem to have any power to the fuel pump or the coil for whatever reason. So what I'm gonna do is, I got a power wire here. Somebody's got a Marietta household plug on it. So I'm just gonna pick up some power there. And see, there we go. Fuel pump's working. I got power. So let's get in, it should start. Okay, no battery power. Get a little shot starter. Hot wire it. Doesn't take much. One wire. That's all you pretty well need. One wire just to power up the coil, then jump the starter solenoid, and you're going. Going backwards. That's how people can steal cars. In the old days. You can't do it anymore. Not too easily. But I'm sure there's some computer guys out there smarter than I am that can make it happen. Brakes? Yeah. Uh-oh. Yeah, we got the brakes sticking on. The brakes did stop me, but then they just wouldn't release once I let go of the pedal. I have to back up to release the brakes, then I can go forward. But it felt okay. I got up into second gear. Probably didn't get over 10 miles an hour. I don't know how much faster you'd want to go in that car. It'd be interesting to take the thing on the road and actually go 30 or 40 miles an hour with it to see how it operates. It'd be interesting. Better than a horse and buggy. Clutch works. It's got forward gears and reverse, so. I got brakes that are sticking. The next step would be get it in the shop, get the wheels off, and find out why we have brakes locking up on it. At least we know where to start.
So this is the long one. Yeah, so this rod, it's inside the engine. This thing pushes up. It's only pushing it that far. Well, that's not enough to push the fuel. It needs to go, like, push it a little more, then gas starts coming out. But if I'm just going like boop, 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 boop every time it turns, well, that's not enough to push it all the way, right? That's my surprise of this car for the day, so I'm trying to make it run. That's weird. I don't think it's pushing it far enough. That's why it won't pump. I can fill the carb and it'll run for a second and then blah, blah, blah. And it's not pulling it up all the way from the tank. Okay, so now we're looking at it a little harder. It's moving considerably before it'll even start to put pressure on the spring to make the diaphragm work. So now I'm thinking maybe there's a little bushing missing in there. So I'm just gonna drift out that pin there. Voila! Look inside, see? Little pieces. There's your bushing. What's left of it. So it looks like the bushing's whacked out of it. So the shaft might actually be the right size. So yeah, that'll take up that 1/4 inch. So if it's working and it's down tight on this shaft all the time, as soon as the shaft goes up, should give it enough throw to make the pump work. You gotta just keep looking at stuff.
The guys have got to make patterns, get the fabric, build the pads, put in new spring sets.
Yeah, that's why I get paid the big bucks. We're looking at this Lincoln Cosmopolitan. I'm doing the upholstery, doing the full interior. And we've already picked all the colors, and everything actually turned out quite nice color-wise. Right now, I've got the seats all apart, got rid of all the rust, repaired springs, we've replaced all the foam and burlap. So everything's going to be new inside.
The car was in beautiful condition. It looked like a good turnkey, go-driving car. But some of it had aged more badly than other bits. And of course, the interior is part of that. So to really make it usable, you've got to go in and attack it and rebuild it. You can't patch that kind of thing up. You can't put a new piece of material on an old piece of material. It just doesn't work.
Yeah, so we're making new door panels for this car because the old ones were pretty much shot. So we make the new cardboard piece for the back, then we make the new pattern for the front, and it all comes back together. Well, I've been doing upholstery for a few years now, and there's not a lot of people out there doing the upholstery anymore, so it's a dying trade.
The guys have actually got to make patterns, get the fabric, then create all the seats and everything. They've got to build the pads, put in new spring sets. They've got to build the platforms that they go on. And if you don't do any of that right, when somebody jumps in, it doesn't feel right.
It's always good to have a good interior, because if you're going to be sitting in a car for 8 hours, you want to be comfortable. Well, I'm just putting in the headliner and just seeing how the bows fit side to side. All the bows were numbered. I put them in the same slot that they came out of as I was taking them apart. But the front one seems to be a little bit small, so I'm gonna have to go find out if we can do something with it. It's tedious, but it's doable.
Restoring anything is a pretty expensive proposition. And the older the car gets, the more complex the interior, the more expensive it gets. It is a real art, and any art is expensive.
Yeah, that's why I get paid the big bucks. Of course, if you don't have a good motor, you're not going anywhere anyway.
Dad,
Uh-oh.
look what I got.
What's that for?
That is the carpet for the Lincoln. Nice color. You like?
Yeah, it's not bad at all.
Just like Christmas.
Yeah, it's gonna be beautiful.
Do your magic with the seats and the carpets.
Well, thank you, sir.
Enjoy.
So once the carpet's in, I can install the door panels and the seats, and then the car's pretty much ready to go.
The interior on this Cosmo looks great. I think the owners are going to be really pleased.
I've never worked on a car with wooden wheels before. So one thing, I'm working at the Guild here, I get to work on all kinds of cars.
Let's try and fire it up here. Woohoo! So I reinstalled the fuel pump on a 1940 Ford. Now it's time to fire it up and see if it works. It's good, so everything seems to be working. We don't have any major leaks or anything on startup. All that's left is just kind of break the engine in, get the carburetor set up, and then a road test. But it is a really good feeling when something goes right and works for you every time. Just kind of trying to get the trunk liners so you don't see, you know, the inside of the body work. Typically, most of the trimming, interior, Lev and Dan would be looking after, but we're so busy right now. I'm just doing my little bit to help out, one less thing they have to worry about. We're moving right along. You know, all the interior's done now. It looks fantastic. I'm sure this guy's just gonna be floored when he sees his car. Okay, looks good, all done. Got all the interior done, all the mechanical, running the electrical. You do get a lot of satisfaction at the end of the project when it's done. We didn't do it from start to finish. We kind of picked it up halfway through, so Yeah, still a lot of work and a lot of time and a lot of setbacks, but we managed to get it all done and it's ready to go.
Working on this 1928 Plymouth. Oh boy. We're rebuilding the brake system on it, complete hydraulic. It's really odd that this car, 1928, has hydraulic brakes. It's got to be one of the first. So it's been sitting around a long time, so all the master cylinder, the wheel cylinders, everything was full of crud and overhauled. So we sent it out, and now I'm just putting it all back together. Pretty simple system, actually. You know, it's early hydraulic brakes, but there's only one spring holding it, return spring. For a modern car, you'd have at least 3. So once the cars got a little faster, they had to do something to improve on the brakes. I guess they built them well back in the day. Like, that car's in really good shape. Quality material, I think, is the difference. So instead of recycled metal that I believe they use today, so that was really solid, grade A steel. I've never worked on a car with wooden wheels before. So one thing about working at the Guild here, I get to work on all kinds of cars, from Corvettes and Ford big block Chevelles to a 28 Plymouth with wooden wheels. So quite a spread in automobiles for sure. Oh yeah, for the most part, it's done. I just gotta adjust the brakes and it's ready to go.